Hey guys, welcome to another episode. Today I'm going to be installing my stock Catback exhaust on my car. Now that's going to be the exact same procedure as an aftermarket Catback, so if you're going from stock to aftermarket, as what I'm doing. But the thing is, I'm doing it backwards only because I've got too much attention with the cops. So stay tuned, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So the tools you're going to need today are the following. You'll need a jack that's good enough to lift your car high in the air, and the higher the better. You'll need 4 jack stands so you can have the car secured in the air while you go under it, and some wheel chocks so you can raise your car in the air without having the car roll on you. You're also going to need a socket set. I needed a 17mm socket and a 1/2" ratchet. A 17mm wrench also to hold the bolt while you turn your nut. You're going to need your nuts and bolts, your exhaust gaskets. You'll also need a torch if your bolts are corroded and rusted, along with the damaged bolt remover set. If you have access to it, get an exhaust hanger removal tool, as it'll make your life a lot easier taking the exhaust hangers off. Unfortunately, I didn't have one, but if you plan on changing your exhaust system yourself, I would strongly suggest investing in a pair. They're cheap and you can pick them up for under 20 bucks. Alright guys, so I jacked up the car to the highest setting that my jack stands will go. This way I've got a lot of room to work with, and I can get under the car with my new exhaust system, with me underneath it, and also my creeper. I'll apologize in advance. What you're hearing is my gas power washer. My dad wanted to power wash and clean out our deck in the backyard, so that's what you're going to be hearing throughout the video.
Alright guys, so you have to remove these 3 bolts and nuts that are up in here holding the Catback system to the exhaust. So come in here, lefty loosey, righty tighty, and just take them off and unscrew them. You do this for all 3 of them, and the exhaust system should be free. Once those bolts are all out, it's all a matter of just taking these and removing these off. These slide off, the rubber hangers. Be careful, it'll probably want to drop once you remove these. Just like that.
If you're alone in doing this exhaust swap, make use of your jack. Raise your jack and make it support your exhaust system so that once you remove those rubber exhaust hangers, you don't need to hold the exhaust in the air.
I made sure that the exhaust is cold, and I'm using my jack to hold it up. So these rubber hangers right here, all you do is just slide them off, just like that. And you can see I've already done it for this one. You're gonna have a couple of them on your exhaust system. So just keep going down, and if you find one, you just remove it. So once you move to the back of the exhaust system, there's also this hanger right here, and this one. Once we take both of these off, the exhaust is going to want to drop and fall down. So make sure you're supporting it. Come in here and you slide these off, just like the first ones.
Now, these friggin' exhaust hangers can be a pain in the butt. If you have an exhaust hanger removal tool, use it in this situation because it's going to make your life easy. You're not going to be sitting there trying to fish this thing out with your hands and hurt yourself, I guess. I spent a good 5-10 minutes trying to take these 2 rubber exhaust hangers off because they were a pain in the butt. I tried using my hands, I tried using some vice grips, I tried using a whole bunch of stuff. Unfortunately, I didn't have an exhaust hanger removal tool. Now this is where me doing this the first time is going to save you guys the second time. So definitely think of buying a pair, and I threw a link in the description box for one of them. I eventually did get all of the rest of the exhaust hangers on the back off the car. Now it did take me something like 3-point-something years to get it off, but I eventually got it. Now after you guys have it off the car, you want to drop it down to the ground, lower it, and then go to the front of the car, or wherever you have your jack, and lower that too. With the exhaust off the car and on the ground, we can now take it out and swap it with our new one. Now with the exhaust system out and it's only the catalytic, so engine to the back of the secondary cat, I want to see how loud my exhaust is. During that entire time, I didn't go over 3,000 RPMs. Now, I can't even imagine what it's like at 7,200. Alright guys, so these are the 2 exhaust systems. So I've got my stock one here that I've covered in plastic dip. And I've got the one over here, my aftermarket. This is the Greddy one. And you can see that the piping is actually larger than the stock one. Look at the size difference. So this is the Greddy aftermarket one. Come on, camera, focus. So that's the size of the tubing. This is 2 1/4 inch on the inside, and the stock one is just 2. It's like 2 and a hair. So obviously, as you guys can tell, the tubing is larger. The resonator style is also different. The one right here, this is a straight through canister, just like my exhaust system, so just like the muffler in the back. This one here is the same style. It's not as big, but it's longer. So all the gas has to go a longer distance in there. Moving down, we come to the exhaust and the muffler. Now for this, the tubing is not straight through, so like from the entrance here to the exit there. It's not a straight through pass like this one. This goes straight through, and it's similar to this resonator, and that's why that system is a lot louder. This stock one right here, it's got to go through a chamber in the front, another chamber in the middle, and then finally when it gets to the back one, that's where the exit tube is. So this has a lot more. This is a lot more restrictive, and hence why it's a lot quieter. So going from the Greddy system to the stock one, we took out the 3 bolts and the gasket that was in between the secondary cat and this point, this part right here. Now to install the new one, all that we're going to need is a replacement gasket and 3 bolts, washers, and nuts. This is what we're going to be using to mount everything back together. So not only does it not leak, but it's mounted very strong. These are also stainless steel bolts, so they won't rust out very easily. They will eventually rust only because of the salt and stuff that I'm around, but the thing is they will last a pretty long time. If you want, you can find titanium bolts or even zinc-coated bolts. Those will last longer than these. However, they're a little bit more expensive. But that's as far as it goes. There's not that much stuff that's needed when you're changing an exhaust system. There's those little rubber grommets, those hangers that are holding on to the system, you know, so it doesn't fall off to the hangers up here. And then you've got your 1 gasket and your 3 bolts. It's that easy. If you can get someone to help you bring your exhaust under your car, it'll make your life a little bit easier. This way you aren't dragging your exhaust system on the garage floor and ruining it. Bring it all the way up to the secondary catalytic converter, where we will be installing the Catback exhaust system, and hence this is why it's called a Catback exhaust. So I'm first going to mount this one onto here, on the bottom, and push that in just like that. After that's on, I'm going to bring this up in the air, lift it up, and then mount it up onto the top. So there's one. And if we move down, we've got to put these 2 back in. So turn this down, align these, and then push them in just like that. There's one. Now we got to push the other one back in too. And there's 2. Double over everything. Make sure it's on. Because the last thing you'd want is when you start driving, your exhaust system to fall off. So that's done. Come down here, look at this one. Now this one's probably going to have to go on after I mount up and align the exhaust system up there. So we're going to go do that now then. So slide up here. And to mount this, we're going to need the gasket and then the 3 bolts up along in here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is grab your gasket and 1 of your bolts. And the way you mount this thing in, you want to mount it so the bolts are facing the back of the car. So you thread it in like that, and then the bolt, and then the rest of the exhaust system mounts up behind here. So install 1 of these. Take that out. Put that up in there. But don't put this one in there too tight. You just want it in there kind of snug. Install your washer, and then your lock washer on top of that, along with your bolt. Just like that. Now you don't want it too tight because you still have to squeeze this in there. So after that, grab another one of your bolts, loosen it off and take off the bolt along with the lock washers. And then you're going to fish this, so fish the gasket into the first slot. If you have to loosen this up a little bit to make your life a little easier,
slide that in there, and then once that's in, the other bolt on the bottom should be able to slide in too. Just like that. Once that's in, grab your other bolts and hardware and mount this thing up. Washer, lock nut, and then your bolt. Now at this point you can push in the other rubber hangers that hold the exhaust in, so you don't have to hold up the exhaust system anymore. So just grab it, make sure you put the little metal thing inside the hole. Just like that. And then move down and install the other one too, the one that we missed. Now obviously if you have a jack and jack stands like I am, this is going to be a little difficult. However, if you have a jack, or if you have a lift rather, if you have a lift, this makes your life so much easier, because you can get under it and you don't have to worry about, you know, maneuvering the exhaust or anything, because it's all out in the open and you have a lot of room to work with. So grab your last bolt, lock washer, or locking nut and washer, and install it through there. Right in the middle. You first want to install these so they're hand tight, and afterwards you can go ahead and tighten them down afterwards with a wrench and socket set. So hand tighten them. Make sure they're all good. Make sure you don't cross thread any of them. Tighten everything up.
Now to double check to make sure you don't have an exhaust leak, don't put the car down on the ground yet. Get in the car, turn it on, get everything nice and warm, and if there's no leaks after that, you can't hear anything else, car's done and the exhaust is on. Now I'm not gonna lie, after installing this exhaust system, my stock one back on the car, you can now hear my intake a little bit more, and it actually sounds a little bit more aggressive. From the inside, you can definitely hear it. From the back, not so much, but especially in the front, you can hear the intake a lot more. Before, the exhaust used to drown it out, and now with the quieter setup right now, it's more noticeable. And what I'm talking about is the intake. The intake is more noticeable, and it's got a nice aggressive sound to it. questions regarding installing an aftermarket or even stock catback exhaust, please post them down in the comments below and I'd be happy to help. If you like what you see and you want to see more, don't forget to click the subscribe button. And again, thanks for watching.